There are a lot of moments when you want to express emotion but are afraid that if you do, you'll come across as needy, and that this won't make a lady like you. Today, I'll discuss how to emotionally connect with a woman and how to truly embrace your masculine power by understanding what conscious vulnerability is, and how to avoid being needy. Neediness arises from a place of scarcity, whereas conscious vulnerability arises from a place of abundance. Vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it is your greatest strength. There's a big distinction between vulnerability shared at someone's expense and vulnerability shared at someone else's expense to be informative. As a result, being vulnerable does not imply that you must reveal all of your deepest, darkest secrets. That isn't the definition of vulnerability. Vulnerability isn't the only thing that hinders us from connecting. We often believe we are unworthy. Vulnerability is the one thing that binds us together. Then there's the fact that we sometimes don't feel like we can connect because we're afraid of coming across as needy, which makes us feel unworthy. I'd like to show you how to be self-sufficient. Vulnerability isn't limited to beta males. Oh, when we become too alpha, we put on a show. People can't connect with us, and they assume we're simply a player. Then you can't get into long-term relationships if you want them. And if you do, the lady will break up with you because she can't connect with you. All I want is more. I simply require more from you. I don't have any feelings. You don't seem to care about me. The list goes on and on. Is that something you've heard before? Vulnerability isn't limited to beta males. Understand that you must possess both attributes as a guy and as a high-value man. Understanding how to break down the beta alpha, feminine, masculine, yin and yang, whatever we want to call it. It's not true that a beta male's vulnerability is limited to him. Vulnerability allows you to connect with others, which leads to my next point. People with a strong sense of worthiness and belonging believe they are deserving of love and acceptance. People who have a strong sense of worthiness and sense of belonging believe they are worthy of love and belonging. If a man feels like he is worthy, then women will be worthy of him too. So, here's where we go wrong in understanding that. I can't be vulnerable because I'm not needy and that's not a man, and if I'm not vulnerable, she's going to like me. But here's one thing. We don't just open our hearts to everybody, and we shouldn't, and this is what I tell my guys all the time. I want you to think of your best friend. The best friend that you have right now, whatever dude that is. And let's think about that person. Did that person become your best friend the day that you met them? Probably not. So then I ask, why not? Why wasn't this person your best friend the first time you met him? Then how can someone stop being needy today itself? That means self-worth is not there. And this is where we go wrong in vulnerability. Because that brings me to the next one, is we're sharing emotions to get someone's attention only, and that's the wrong way to do vulnerability. This is when you become needy, which is why I want to show you how to stop being needy. The way we need to do vulnerability is in connection. I want you to think of it as rewarding for someone to know something about you. Here's how you can be less needy. A lot of times, men experience shame, and shame is a part of disconnection. When we feel that I'm not good enough, which is an illusion, the idea in order for connection to happen, we have to let ourselves be seen. So vulnerability is scary, especially when you feel like you're not good enough. Let me repeat this. Shame is a part of disconnection. When you feel that you're not good enough, the idea in order for connection to happen, we have to let ourselves be seen. So, vulnerability then becomes scary because underneath you being seen means that they'll see that I'm not good enough. They'll see that I believe that I'm not good enough. So then that shame gives you disconnection. So then that shame is the mask of inauthenticity. So we follow tactics. So we follow things that are going to be surface level, but don't get down to the root to improve who we are overall, so we can be the best person that we can be in our lives. The ability to feel connected is why we're all here biologically. But what I will tell you is that if you have that underlying feeling of shame as part of your disconnect because of trauma, triggers, things that you have hidden because you don't feel good enough, but yet you have to shine, bling, get a great car, get a great job, get these really great women and show off. If something inside of you is still not connecting because you haven't been able to let yourself be seen because vulnerability seems scary, and you are afraid you might come off as needy. So, what makes someone become vulnerable and connect to you? You may ask. The truth is, if we can't be compassionate towards ourselves, we can't be compassionate towards others. There's no way. So, I ask you today to choose courage to be imperfect and to figure out, why am I hiding behind this? Especially if it's hard for you to connect and be vulnerable. Especially if we've already made the decision to think that vulnerability is a weakness because it's not. This is what women look for, especially high-value women that want a long-term relationship. I coach guys from all over the world that just want to have fun with dating, and that's okay too. So I ask you, How are you contributing to the illusion that vulnerability is for the weak? And I want you to write this down. I want you to figure out what is really important for us to understand about neediness and learning how to be vulnerable with our feelings.